troops of the division are moving to their assembly areas prior to occupying defensive positions along the Black River. Earlier, the Commander Division Engineers received a briefing from the Commander Corps Engineer, which outlined the Corps barrier plan and detailed the allocation of Corps Engineer resources to the division. In concert with the Corps' requirement and the Division Commander's defensive layout, the CDE prepares his plan, which is aimed at implementing his sector's portion of the Corps barrier, indicating likely locations for obstacle development throughout the division area. The CDE's G3 staff coordinates the plan with the division operations staff, prepares the required overlays, allocates reconnaissance tasks, and requests any additional resources required from Corps. The G2 staff puts together the engineer intelligence collection plan, which results in taskings that will be distributed downwards to other arms and engineer units. These tasks will provide information on river currents, bank heights, fording sites, and the like. Orders are then delivered to the field regiment's headquarters in the form of obstacle task tables and engineer intelligence collection tasks. Engineer reconnaissance in support of these tasks is conducted as early as possible, often when other units are still in their assembly areas. The resulting recce information is consolidated at regimental headquarters and passed back to CDE HQ. There, the staff review the reports and finalize their portion of the Corps barrier plan. The completed plan is then delivered to Corps. Once the division engineer plan has been approved, tasks are issued and resources, time, and priorities are established in the form of engineer annexes, traces, and overlays to the division operations order. An obstacle task table and a work schedule are built up for the execution of tasks within the division area. Some tasks are approved as received so that work can begin without delay. The division engineer G4 staff, based on the G3's directions, allocated out the resources provided by the Corps Engineer Brigade. These resources are employed to assist with the various barrier tasks or to undertake specific Corps-directed tasks such as survey, route maintenance, or the provision of amphibious bridging. The staff also negotiate the positioning of mine and explosive dumps and defense stores within the division area, and they coordinate the transport required for the delivery of these items, some of which will be taken directly to the task sites. As well, the staff allocates the heavy equipment resources of the Engineer Support Regiment, which move directly to the task sites and start work. The Division Engineer Group will initially be employed on Corps and Division barrier tasks. As higher priority obstacles are completed, selected field squadrons may be detached to support their affiliated brigades. The remaining field squadrons continue under command of the CDE and complete their work on Corps and Division barriers, both in-depth and on flanks. They would also undertake any protective or general engineering tasks required in support of Division troops and Division service group units. The Armored Engineers squadrons are normally grouped to support the covering force operation. After withdrawing across the FIBA, they are reassigned in support of the counterattack force. Throughout the covering force area, engineer tasks concentrate on slowing down the enemy and causing him to commit his engineer resources. These tasks mainly involve routing, mining, demolition and cratering on routes, construction of anti-tank ditches, wire obstacles, booby traps, and abattis. The covering force requires axial and lateral routes to give it the required mobility to both delay the enemy and avoid decisive engagement. Here, engineers assist with maintenance on reserved routes, using assault bridging to cross critical obstacles, clearing debris in urban areas, advice on trafficability, alternate crossings should reserve demolitions be fired before all troops can be withdrawn, and some digging assistance for weapons positions. Engineer activities in the main defense area are generally directed at creating a continuous barrier across the division front and then strengthening the barrier with obstacles in depth. Typical tasks involve constructing anti-tank ditches, demolishing bridges, fords, and swim sites, mining, cratering, and routing of routes, and creating abati. Also included are the maintenance and improvement of routes for blocking and counterattack forces, which may involve the use of assault bridging, trackway, and engineer equipment well forward. The weight of artillery fire and airstrikes available to the enemy requires that considerable effort be put into the digging in of battle positions for tanks, guns, and anti-tank weapons, and headquarters and communications sites. Work priorities within the main defense area may be categorized into Priority 1 tasks, which include the demolition of major bridges and the mining of fording sites. Priority 2 tasks involve development of major minefields, both on the FIBA and in depth. Priority 3 tasks, concentrating on road demolitions, nuisance mining and abati within the brigade areas, and Priority 4 tasks, which provide for digging assistance. As the core barrier is developed, lanes are left through which the covering force can withdraw, and gaps for counterattack operations are provided. When these are no longer necessary, they are sealed using demolitions, hand-laid or scatterable mines. As the enemy advance closes up on the forward edge of the battle area, engineer units are withdrawn into assembly areas where they rest and replenish before starting to work on depth obstacles. When employed in a counterattack role, the AEVs of the Armored Engineer Squadron augment the Armored Regiment's tanks, which were equipped with rollers and plows for the hasty breaching of minefields. They could also employ explosives to assist with lane clearance, and the AEVs may be used to fill in ditches, lay trackway, and fascines. In addition, its AVLBs assist in the crossing of small rivers. Engineer elements working on specific tasks in the main defense area would normally be placed in support of a brigade. Engineers detached to the covering force would be placed under command of that force. In times of emergency, engineers can be employed as infantry. In this situation, a field squadron would be grouped under the command of a battalion, occupying a company-sized battle position. They must then be allocated both anti-armor and mortar resources to assist their survivability. Engineers are a limited resource, and their employment as infantry should only occur in very critical situations. The engineers are an essential part of the defensive battle. Their ability to rapidly emplace effective obstacles and their assistance in digging is a key component in the division's fight against the enemy.